You are not in a place. You are not in a moment. You are in the waiting. There is no sky above you, no ground below. Only the soft, endless black, deeper than night, quieter than thought. You float in something that has no shape, no center, no edge. A silence so complete, it feels like a breath held by the universe itself. This is the beginning, or just after it, the first exhale after the universe was born. A moment not marked by light or thunder, but by temperature falling ever so gently. The great blaze has passed the fireball of existence, cooling into something almost still. You drift through that cooling. Time is here, but it doesn't tick. It flows like syrup, slow and quiet. You feel it around you, not as seconds or minutes, but as change, soft and wide, like a glacier melting. Everything stretches, space unfolds. You stretch with it. You become the shape of waiting. There are no stars, no suns, no planets, no moons. Not yet. There is no light to see, and nothing to see with. There are only particles, the smallest kinds of being, moving and meeting in a sea that remembers heat. Electrons, protons, neutrons, nothing bigger than that. All adrift, like you. You imagine them not as dots, but as whispers. Soft flickers of possibility. They carry stories in their motion, though no one is here to hear them yet. You are the first witness, floating among them. Their dance is random, yet not without rhythm. Some will collide and vanish, others will cling together. The beginnings of structure, the beginnings of memory. The universe is expanding, and you feel it. Not like a balloon swelling, but like a hush growing wider, a breath getting longer. The further you drift, the quieter it becomes. Not silent like an empty room, but silent like the inside of a seed full of something waiting to happen. Gravity, that ancient whisper, is beginning to stir. Not loudly, not with force, just a suggestion, a lean in one direction. Some particles begin to notice one another. They move closer, they hesitate, they spin. Clumps begin to form, tiny and scattered, held by a force that doesn't yet know how powerful it will become. And still, there is no light. This is the universe before stars, before fire returned, a time called the cosmic dark age, though that word dark is too loud. This darkness is not frightening. It is soft, vast, unjudging. It is a nursery without windows, a womb without walls. You drift through this era like a leaf in still water. Around you, atoms of hydrogen, simple and shy, float in quiet clouds. They do not yet know their future. That some will become suns, that some will live in oceans, that some will rise as breath in a creature's lungs. For now, they simply are. Here, distance loses meaning. If you reached out, there would be nothing to touch. If you called out, there would be no one to answer. But this is not loneliness. This is potential. This is quiet gathering its strength. And inside that quiet, energy still hums, barely. Tiny traces of the Big Bang's afterglow stretch across the expanding fabric, a faint warmth in the vastness. You might imagine it like the echo of a campfire long gone out, its warmth lingering on stones. This echo is called the cosmic microwave background, a memory of the universe's first light, now cooled and spread thin, too soft for eyes, but not for instruments. But you're not measuring anything now. You're simply floating, listening, watching a world prepare for sight. And then, slowly, patterns begin to form. Not stars, not yet, but the seeds of where stars will be. Hydrogen gathers into greater clouds, denser, colder, pulled in by gravity, shaped by patience. A hush within the hush. These clouds begin to pulse with unseen tension. They are waiting too. Inside them a promise is forming, of heat, of pressure, of ignition. But for now, they sleep. You are drifting through a universe without fire. But fire is coming. Somewhere, deep in those clouds, gravity is folding matter tighter and tighter. like hands clasping a secret. And one day, not far from now, in cosmic time, something will spark. A first star will open its eyes, a blaze will light the darkness. But not yet. This moment, the one you float through now, is the breath before the song, the ink before the poem. It is not empty. It is full, full of things that do not yet know what they are. You are moving through the great hush before the orchestra stirs. You wonder what it would sound like, the birth of the first star. But there is no sound here, no air to carry it, only motion, only light. When it comes, will break this silence. So you wait. You float. The silence is not broken. It unfolds around you like silk. The particles drift. The clouds gather. And gravity keeps whispering. Everything is slow. Everything is wide. And still the stars sleep. But they are almost ready. You drift through something that does not feel like a place, but like a presence. Around you, a vast cloud curls and stretches, delicate as fog, heavy as time. This is not a storm made of rain. It is not a cloud made for weather. It is a nebula, a cradle of cold hydrogen, helium and dust, thousands of light years wide, and still growing. You float inside it, like a breath held in the lungs of space. The particles here are so spread out, you would never feel them. You could reach out, and your hand would meet only silence. But they are here, millions upon millions, drifting slowly toward one another, listening to gravity's quiet invitation. This is a stellar nursery, though it makes no sound. It is patient. It has waited hundreds of millions of years to become what it will be. And now, you are here, with it, inside it, not to see it change, but to feel how becoming begins. The hydrogen around you is simple. The simplest thing the universe makes. A single proton. Sometimes a companion electron. That's all. It doesn't shine. It doesn't burn. But it holds a secret. If gathered in enough numbers, if drawn close enough together, hydrogen can turn into fire. But not yet. Now, it floats. Dust weaves through it. Bits of carbon, oxygen, silicon, specks made in older stars, long gone. These specks are memory. They are history, floating through possibility. They scatter light, though there's almost none to scatter. They thicken the cloud in ways you cannot see but can sense, like the feeling of fog clinging to your skin. You drift deeper. Gravity, so quiet before, begins to hum. Not loudly, not suddenly, but like a thread pulled gently tighter. The gas around you gathers. Bits drift inward, drawn by each other's pull, at first slowly, then with more certainty. Where once there was space between particles, now there is closeness. They begin to press, to swirl, to cluster. Turbulence begins. Not like wind, not like waves. It is slower. It is deeper. You feel it in your body like the faint thrum of a heartbeat in your ears. Within the cloud, knots form, denser pockets where matter is folding in on itself. These are called molecular cores. You are inside one now. Though it doesn't feel separate from the rest of the cloud, it simply feels thicker, more certain of its shape. The temperature drops. Paradoxically, this is what allows warmth to one day come. Cooling lets the cloud collapse more fully. As the heat drifts away into the void, gravity grows stronger. With less motion pushing particles apart, gravity can draw them in. The cloud is now a conversation between gravity and resistance, between heat and cold, between falling inward and holding shape. It is a dance with no music. You are its audience, and also a part of it. You watch a region grow dense, denser than all the space around it. From the outside, it would appear opaque, like a smear of smoke on velvet. From within, it is still vast, still quiet, but something is changing. This clump, this forming star, is called a protostar. You hover beside it, invisible. It doesn't know it is a star yet. It only knows it is falling inward, that it is being squeezed tighter and tighter, by gravity's embrace. The pressure mounts. So does the heat. Inside, atoms are colliding more often, moving faster. They are not fusing, not yet, but they are preparing. The temperature rises to thousands of degrees, still too cold to ignite, but enough for the dust to shift, for the glow to whisper through the cloud like a thought forming. This is the cradle, and it is rocking. You stay beside the protostar as it gathers mass. Its gravity grows hungrier. It pulls in more gas, more dust. The cloud around it thins, even as the center brightens. Not with flame, but with the tension of heat building. You might imagine this as breath being held. A pause before exhale, or a pause before song. The spinning begins. Imperfections in the cloud, tiny asymmetries, become rotation. The protostar spins, and so does the matter falling toward it. A disk forms, wide, thin, elegant. Around this disk, chaos is ordered. Within it, the ingredients for planets may one day stir, but that is not today. Today, the heat is rising. At 10 million degrees Celsius, a number almost too large to feel, something changes. Hydrogen, under pressure, fuses into helium. A nuclear fire is lit. Not like flame, but like the core of creation itself. The protostar becomes a star. There is no sound, no explosion, just a quiet refusal to collapse. Pressure from fusion pushes outward, gravity pulls inward. The two forces balance, and in that balance the star is born. Its light is still dim within the cloud, scattered, softened, but it glows. You do not cheer. You only feel the warmth blooming through the gas like the first sigh of morning. The cloud, once only cold and drifting, now carries a new kind of presence. Light, with a future. This new star is young. A T-Tauri star, restless and wild. It flares. It pushes back the gas around it. Solar winds stream out, carving cavities in the cradle. Eventually they will clear the space around the star, but for now, the light still weaves through mist. All around, other stars are forming, some larger, some smaller, each with their own story, their own orbit, their own cradle. You are inside a nursery of suns, each waiting to illuminate worlds not yet born. You float slowly outward now, through the thinning veil. The heat behind you pulses gently, no longer hidden. The star glows freely, no longer becoming but being. Still, the dust remains. Still, the cloud holds pieces of future planets, moons, comets. You pass them like thoughts, not yet spoken. And now, with stars burning behind you, you turn your gaze outward, because now that there is light, now that there is fire, that light will travel. It will move through the dark, searching for what lies beyond the cradle. You follow it. You are still, but the space around you begins to lean inward. Gravity, once a whisper in the void, is no longer just a suggestion. Now it dreams in curves, in pressure, in shapes pulling toward their own center. You drift deeper into a newborn star's heart. Not yet a flame, but no longer cold. Something is changing, and you are there to feel it. You pass through the dark veil of the cloud that once cradled this forming star. The mist thins behind you, stretched and scattered by stellar winds. Ahead lies something denser, warmer, the core of becoming. The place where time folds inward, and matter listens closely to itself. It begins not with fire but with motion, constant, invisible, unrelenting. Atoms of hydrogen, simple and ancient, are caught in a gravitational embrace. They fall inward, again and again, into tighter spaces, closer orbits. No collision is wasted. Every encounter is a conversation in heat. This heat does not roar, it hums, it gathers in silence. You imagine these hydrogen atoms like raindrops falling into a valley, pooling in the lowest place they can find. The core is that valley, and as the atoms gather, pressure builds. Not explosively, but steadily, like a deep breath held longer than it should be. Each atom adds its weight to the center, and the center grows hotter. 10,000 degrees, 100,000, 1,000,000. The atoms dance faster. They jostle harder. But still they cannot fuse. Not yet. The strong nuclear force, the powerful glue that binds atomic hearts together, resists until the pressure becomes undeniable. Then finally, at around 10 million degrees Celsius, the threshold is crossed. Two hydrogen nuclei meet with enough force to overcome their natural repulsion. They do not bounce away, they fuse. In that moment, light is born. Not as a flicker, but as a release. A photon springs forth, and another, and another. Fusion has begun. You are inside the spark. It doesn't feel like an explosion. It feels like an unfolding. Like something long asleep realizing what it is. This is the first heartbeat of the star, a beat that will echo for billions of years. The core is no longer just collapsing, it is balancing. The energy from fusion pushes outward, while gravity pulls inward. The two forces meet in equilibrium, and in that meeting, the star stabilizes. It no longer falls, it burns. You sense it. This is the dream gravity was dreaming. All around you, atoms continue to fuse. A chain begins. Hydrogen to helium. Helium releasing energy as light and heat. The core glows from within. Photons, born in the deepest part, begin a long journey outward. A journey that may take thousands of years to reach the star's surface. Scattering, bouncing, slowed by the density of matter, you drift with one. You follow its path. It is not a straight line. It is a maze of interactions, a diffusion of light. Each encounter delays the photon, sends it in a new direction, but slowly, it moves upward, outward. The layers of the star become thinner as you rise, not in size, but in density. Each layer you pass holds its own currents, its own movements. Convection churns hot gas in great loops, bringing heat to the surface, cycling matter in patterns deeper than memory. And then, light escapes. You emerge at the surface, and everything softens. The photon you followed bursts free, no longer trapped. It races into space, traveling at the speed of light, its journey through the star finally over. It may fly for centuries before touching anything again, but its story began here, inside a dream. The star glows now, not in secret, but in certainty. Its light spreads across space. It warms the cloud that once held it. It nudges other particles nearby. It begins to shape its surroundings, not violently, but persistently. The cradle becomes a system. The system may become a solar family. And all because fusion began. You linger at the edge of the star, watching its light pour outward. You no longer need to float inward to feel heat. The star speaks clearly now, its presence known. It pulses gently with energy, each moment a balance between pressure and gravity. But balance is not stillness. This young star is alive with activity. Sunspots, flares, solar winds, bursts of magnetic energy twist and crackle at its surface. It is not peaceful, but it is constant. Its fuel, hydrogen, will last for billions of years. It has time to burn, time to shape, time to reach. You think of other stars, other cradles, other moments like this happening elsewhere. The universe is no longer quiet. It is lit with dreams realized, with stars blooming like flowers across the void. Each one born from collapse, each one burning from fusion, each one a memory of pressure turned to light. Behind you, the dark is no longer absolute. Light is spreading. Color is beginning. The deep silence of the early universe now carries the warmth of starlight, the distant hum of suns. But something else is happening too. As stars form in clusters, their gravity pulls together not just gas and dust, but stars themselves. Patterns begin to emerge. Structures that reach beyond a single cradle. Galaxies, not yet shaped, but forming. The dream of gravity is growing more complex. It begins to imagine not just stars but vast families of them. bound together, moving in spirals, in clusters, in waves. And you begin to drift again, away from the single star, towards something larger. You hover near the surface of a young star, as if watching a dream unfold from inside its chest. It does not scream into existence. It opens, like dawn through mist, like the breath you didn't know you were holding. The fire does not come all at once. It pulses, radiant and slow, whispering through the gases that wrap its body in warmth. This is its first breath of fire. Not the fire of wood, or match, or spark, but the fire of fusion, a pressure-born flame, made not of flame at all, but of light. Light that begins inside, deep inside, where hydrogen atoms pressed so close together finally surrendered their separateness, where they fused, and in that fusion released energy, pure and silent. It is not sound that marks this beginning. It is brightness. The light rises, not in a line, but in layers, through convection, through collision, through the maze of atoms above. Each photon is a traveler, jostled endlessly, re-rated, slowed. It takes thousands of years to reach the star's surface. But once it arrives, it is free. It leaves as if flung from the edge of a thought, hurrying outward into space with the speed of something that knows no delay. You do not blink. You don't need to. The glow wraps you, so constant, so unhurried. It feels like skin, like memory. It carries no urgency, only presence. The light is not bright in the way of harsh beams or electric glare. It is the brightness of something sure of itself. Warm gold, deep white, and traces of colors you can't quite name. All mixed in the language of stars. If you could listen, the star would hum, not with a note but with energy, stretching in waves across the dark. You drift slowly along its surface. Below you, the outer layers churn. Hot gas rises, cools, and sinks in wide, looping patterns. The convection zone, a place where heat and motion become one. You feel the rhythm in the shape of the gas, in the soft flicker of granules moving across the surface, like the tops of boiling water, only slower, wider, more elegant. There are darker patches, sunspots, cooler areas shaped by magnetic tension. Even here, where all is new, the star has moods. Its magnetic field twists beneath the surface, sometimes erupting into flares, sending bursts of charged particles outward. But this is not chaos. It is character. It is youth. You sense the star has many names ahead of it, none yet spoken. For now, it is simply a beginning. The fire continues. Every second, millions of tons of hydrogen are turned into helium. A small portion of their mass becomes energy by the elegant mathematics of Einstein. That energy becomes heat. That heat becomes light. And that light becomes history. Because this light will travel. Long after the cloud that once cradled the star is gone, burned away, scattered, the light will keep moving. It will stretch outward, painting the darkness with soft color. It will carry warmth into the cold. It will touch rocks, ice, planets not yet formed. Some of it will go farther, past dust, past galaxies, past memory. Light that leaves a star may journey forever, unless caught by something that can listen. Like you lie still, and the warmth of the star touches your skin, not as heat, but as presence, as story, as signal from across eons. You feel it now, because starlight endures. It stretches, it softens, but it does not forget. The first light ever made by a star might still be moving through space, looking for something to rest on. You are not alone in your drifting. Around you, other stars awaken, each one glowing with its own color, its own temperature, its own fire. Some small and steady, some vast and wild, some destined to live for billions of years, some that will burn out quickly, too bright to last. But all of them breathe the same breath, the breath of fire, and fire brings change. The energy pouring from the star sculpts everything near it. It clears away the gas and dust that remain. It pushes matter outward, shaping the emptiness around it into something new. A solar system. A place with orbits and collisions and chances. The leftovers from the cradle, the dust, the molecules, the fragments begin to circle. Some clump. Some crash. Some combine. From that, planets may form. You can't see them yet. But the seeds are there, hidden in the disk of dust and gas circling the star like a promise. You float just outside this disk now, watching the star burn from a slight distance. It no longer seems like a spark. It seems like a hearth, a center of warmth, quiet and enduring. Not a god, not a beacon. Just home to what my home, to what my home. And now you start to drift farther. Slowly, quietly, away from this one fire, toward the spaces between, where other stars breathe, where other lights stretch. You pass the outer edge of this system, through its whispers of frozen debris, and into the dark that lies between systems. But this dark is not the same as before. Before stars, the universe had no direction, no warmth, no light to guide its shape. Now, the dark carries meaning. It holds the distance between stars. It is marked by what it separates. It becomes the backdrop against which structure will soon appear. Because while stars breathe, galaxies gather. Gravity, once content to hold clouds together, now begins to imagine larger things. It reaches out across space, shaping stars into rivers, spirals, webs of light that move as one. You are heading toward that now. The soft architecture of something enormous, stitched together not by hands but by motion and memory. But you take one last look behind. The star still glows, steady, small in the vastness, and yet not lost. It will burn for billions of years, its light always moving outward. You will not see its end. Not now. You are following the story onward, not toward silence, but toward structure. You return to a star not at its birth but in the midst of its becoming. This is not a moment of fire, cracking open the dark, not a shout of ignition or a collapse of clouds. This is what comes after. The stillness. The long, radiant middle. The part of the story most never tell, because it is not dramatic, only constant. And yet here, constancy is everything. You float beside a mature star, golden and sure, breathing its warmth into the cold. Its surface glows without strain. Its rhythm is steady. No flares, no chaos, no death. Just present. This is a main sequence star. A star in balance. It has been this way for billions of years and will remain so for billions more. Every second, hydrogen in its core fuses into helium, releasing energy that keeps gravity from pulling it inward too tightly. The fire and the fall are equal here. The pressure of fusion pushing outward exactly matches the pull of gravity, drawing inward. This equilibrium is delicate, but stable, like a candle that never flickers, because the air around it never stirs. You sense no urgency here. You drift slowly around it, feeling the weightless calm of time that no longer hurries. Around this star, planets turn. Some with rock, some with ice, some with gas. One might carry oceans, one might cradle wind, one might host green things turning sunlight into sugar, but the star asks nothing of them. It simply offers light. That light is not a flare, it is an offering. A quiet breath, drawn out over epochs. The photons leave its surface steadily, gently, carrying warmth through the vacuum. Some strike moons, some dance off clouds, some dive into soil or reflect off the eyes of something curious. Others travel on, never intercepted, never absorbed, simply continuing. Light does not age the way you do. It moves through centuries without forgetting its speed. You notice how time behaves differently here. Near this star, time slows in its meaning, if not in its measure. A second still passes in a second, but what it holds feels softer, more circular. You imagine years like ripples on a pond, not vanishing, but spreading outward, overlapping, weaving themselves into memory. This is the middle age of a star. Not a crisis, not a climax, a lullaby. A song of hydrogen becoming helium over and over again. A process so efficient it barely changes the star's appearance. But change does happen, quietly. Inside the core, helium is slowly accumulating, heavier than hydrogen. It sinks toward the center. The star doesn't mind. It adjusts. Ever so slightly, it brightens. Ever so slightly, it swells. But from the outside, it remains calm, predictable, generous. And you, floating near, begin to sense what this stillness means. Not all change is violent. Not all motion is loud. Some transformations are held in the way heat seeps into stone, or how rivers carve valleys, not by crashing but by persistence. The star is not the same as it was, but it doesn't need to be. This chapter of its life is not about becoming something new, but about being what it is. You imagine time as a spiral around this star, planets like notes in its orbit, each repeating its path, year after year. On one of those worlds, perhaps, life has learned to listen to the star's rhythm. It has adapted to the rising and falling of light. It has grown into the stillness, the way flowers bloom into morning. You drift through that light. It touches you without sound. It carries with it a memory of fusion, the tight dance of hydrogen atoms embracing, releasing energy, releasing photons, releasing warmth. You feel it in your bones, even if you have no body here. This is not the heat of summer. It is the heat of intention, quiet, focused, and endless. You drift farther, not away, but into orbit. Here, a planet turns. Its skies curve in soft arcs. You watch shadows grow long and then vanish. You watch day slip into night, and then back into day again. Each cycle, lit by the same patient fire, gives shape to time, gives rhythm to everything that lives below. You sense that the star, though unchanging, is the anchor of change. It allows other things to grow, to shift, to become. It holds a space for stories it does not need to understand. Its constancy is a gift. You return to the star's edge and hover once more near its surface. The granules still rise and fall. The magnetic fields still twist, sometimes flaring, sometimes folding. The light still streams outward, but none of it feels urgent. It feels practiced, as though the star knows its role in the wide orchestra of the cosmos, not a soloist, but a steady cello note beneath the melody. Billions of stars are like this. Most of the universe is not made of moments that shout. It is made of these slow, glowing stretches of time. Stars in middle age, not waiting for anything, simply existing, and in their existing, allowing the possibility of everything else. You begin to drift again, your motion quiet as thought, because even stillness moves. Even the calmest light travels. And beyond this steady star, beyond its warmth and its rhythm, lies a deeper mystery. What happens after this balance ends? What becomes of a star when hydrogen runs low, when the stillness begins to shift, and the long exhale comes to an end? You float in the dark, not in silence, but in song. The notes are not sounds, they are light, reaching you across millions, even billions of years. Tiny messengers, photons, each one a letter from a star, a memory written in motion. They do not rush, they arrive. And you, the listener, begin to understand the sky not as backdrop, but as language. What is light? Not just brightness, not just warmth. It is information. It is time, stretched into motion. A photon born inside a star begins its journey as heat, pressed into existence by fusion. It stumbles for centuries through dense plasma, bumped and redirected. But once it escapes, it moves without friction. It travels straight until it touches something, like your eye or your mind. You are surrounded by light now. Not in beams, not in glare, but in presence. Each ray carries a tone, a temperature, a fingerprint. Light from a blue star is different than light from a red one. Young stars hum higher. Old ones glow lower. Even starlight filtered through dust tells you something. What is missing reveals what lies between. Astronomers call this spectrum. But to you it feels like the accent of a voice. Every star speaks in its own color. You hold still and let the light pass through you. A photon from a distant galaxy brushes past your shoulder. It left its home when the Earth was still forming. It doesn't know what it has missed. It doesn't need to. It simply continues, its path unchanged, unless it meets something that listens. You listen. Another photon reaches you, this one from a supernova. The brilliant death of a star. Its light is different, sharper, short-lived. It carries urgency, a flare of conclusion. You sense its story, the collapse, the pressure, the burst, the elements scattered. Iron, gold, calcium, light that speaks not only of brightness, but of endings and of what endings leave behind. You realize light is never just what it appears to be. It bends, it stretches. The universe expands, and light expands with it. A photon's original color is pulled toward red, longer waves, lower energy. This redshift is not decay, it is distance, a cosmic echo of motion. Farther means older, redder means longer ago. You are not just seeing light, you are seeing time. You float toward a galaxy cluster, where thousands of stars burn in elegant spirals. Their combined light softens the dark. But what you see now is not what is, it is what was. Some stars you gaze upon no longer exist. Their light has outlived them. Their memory still travels, and that you begin to feel is the quiet miracle of light. It lasts. Long after the object is gone, the light remains, moving through space like a witness refusing to forget. Light is the universe's handwriting. It scrawls itself across the sky. It tells you not just what is there, but what once was. And maybe, if you know how to listen, what might still come. You wonder how light speaks so clearly. It does not use words. It uses energy, wavelength, frequency, the spacing between its crests. Gamma rays are short and fierce. Radio waves are long and slow. In between, the visible, the narrow band your eyes are tuned to, but your body, your bones, your atoms are touched by all of it, even what you cannot see. The universe shines in every direction, always, and yet you can only perceive a sliver, but even that sliver is rich. It tells you the composition of a star. It reveals the speed at which a galaxy moves. It exposes the hidden arms of a spiral, the flicker of a planet's passing shadow. You are beginning to understand. Light doesn't just illuminate, it decodes. You hover in a field of faint light. Not from stars, not from galaxies, but from something older, the cosmic microwave background. The softest glow, stretched thin by time. This is the afterglow of the Big Bang. Radiation from when the universe was still hot and dense, now cooled into microwaves, just above absolute zero. You can't see it, but you feel it in the silence. This is the most ancient light of all. Not from a star, but from the fabric of space itself. It comes not in bursts, but in a hush, like fog, like breath on glass. This light tells a story so old that there were no stars yet to listen. And yet here it is, speaking still. You move through it, like a diver through calm water. It is all around. It touches galaxies, planets, you. It proves that the universe had a beginning, that everything was once smaller, hotter, closer. This faint radiation is not just memory. It is origin. You wonder how much the universe remembers. Every photon, every beam, every ray. A journal of motion, some absorbed, some reflected, some scattered, but many still flying, still carrying their messages across space. And some of that light enters you, touches your eyes, strikes your skin, moves through your body before continuing on. In that way you become part of the record. You are not just observing, You are being observed by light that passes through and continues. You are a brief resting place for ancient memory. You carry the echo of stars in your cells, and still the story moves on. The language of light is patient. It waits to be heard, sometimes by a telescope, sometimes by an eye, sometimes by the heart. You drift slowly away from the galaxy now, toward the darker regions where light grows thinner. Even here, the stars leave their trace. The night is never completely black. There is always some distant glimmer. You realize darkness isn't absence. It is distance. It is light too faint, too far, but still there. You wonder what future light is now being born. Inside newborn stars, photons are forming. Their stories have not yet begun. But one day they will leave their suns. They will travel. Some may take billions of years to arrive. And perhaps one night, someone else will lie still and feel that light reach them and wonder where it came from. You'll feel a kinship with that someone, because tonight, you are the one who listens. And what you hear is not silence, but memory, in motion. The sky is not empty. It is filled with voices too soft for ears, but not for you. You return to the heart of a star, but now, it breathes differently. Its light still reaches outward, steady and warm. But something beneath that glow has begun to shift. The quiet harmony you once felt, that long golden exhale of hydrogen becoming helium, is softening. You sense a deepening, a wait, a pause between beats. You drift inward, through layers of light and plasma, back toward the core. There, where fusion once sang with clarity, the music has changed. It is not gone but altered. The helium ash left behind from ages of fusion has built up grain by grain, like sand in an hourglass. It gathers at the center, and now, the star must decide what comes next. This moment is not a failure. It is not collapse. It is transition. The star is no longer young. It is no longer in the effortless rhythm of its main sequence life. Its core grows hotter. Its outer layers puff outward. And the balance, once perfect, begins to sway. You feel the helium stir. At first, the helium atoms resist fusion. They are heavier than hydrogen. They need more pressure, more heat to fuse. But the star has changed. Its core compresses under its own weight. Temperatures rise 100 million degrees and more, and suddenly, helium yields. The triple alpha process begins. 3 helium nuclei, under immense pressure, fuse to form carbon, and sometimes oxygen. These are not the lightest elements anymore. These are the ingredients for life, for bones, for breath. You float in awe. This new fusion burns hotter, but faster. The star swells in response, its outer layers expanding, its surface cooling. It becomes a red giant. You drift through the swelling atmosphere, where the light is softer now, redder, slower. The outer shell billows like fabric, even as the core tightens like a fist. The star's size deceives you. From far away, it looks more luminous. But inside, it is dying, slowly, beautifully. And yet, it still creates. Each new stage of fusion brings heavier elements: carbon, oxygen, neon, magnesium. In the most massive stars, the process continues, forming silicon, sulfur, iron. You feel them forming like layers in a tree's trunk, rings of fusion nested within each other, hotter as you go deeper. Each element is born from pressure and heat, each one heavier, each one a step closer to stillness. And then, something changes. You reach the iron core. Iron is a boundary. It cannot be fused to release energy. It does not give back what is put in. Fusion stops here, not because the star chooses, but because physics does. The core has become too heavy. The fire at its heart cannot burn any farther forward. It pauses. You feel it in your chest, though your chest is only metaphor. The pause is not silence. It is potential. A held breath. a deep waiting. Above the core, the outer layers still burn, but their rhythm is no longer certain. The balance is slipping. Gravity begins to whisper again, more urgently now. The star's center tightens, and the layers above can no longer resist the pull. A hush falls across the entire structure. You float within it, still and reverent. This is the prelude to a final act, not yet an end, but the last moment of holding on. The iron heart of the star is dense beyond imagining. A teaspoon of it would outweigh mountains, and yet it rests. For now, untouched by flame. You listen closely. In this silence, there is sorrow, but not despair. The star is not failing, it is completing. It has made so much light, warmth, elements. It has given and burned and reached. It has lived through billions of years, and now it prepares. Soon, gravity will win. But tonight, the core only grows heavier. You drift now through a graveyard of stars, though it does not feel like death. It feels like color, like memory unraveling into light. All around you are the echoes of endings, some quiet, some explosive, each one different, each one shaped by mass, by age, by what it had left to burn. Not all stars die the same way. Just as not all lives end with the same gesture. Some stars simply let go. Others erupt, but all of them give back. You begin with the quiet ones. Small to medium stars, like the sun you once floated beside, reach their final chapters with grace. When the hydrogen runs out, and then the helium, the outer layers swell into a red giant, gentle and slow. You watch as one such star breathes out its final exhale, not with a bang, but a release. Its outer gases drift away into space, forming a planetary nebula, a shell of shimmering color, pinks, blues, greens, suspended like a delicate bubble in the dark. You hover inside one, and it feels like being within the memory of a breath. At the center, what remains is a white dwarf, no larger than Earth, but unimaginably dense. The star's core, stripped bare, no longer burns with fusion. It simply glows, heat from a life once lived, slowly radiating away over billions of years, no longer becoming, just being, a quiet ember. A star that folded in on itself and rests. You pause there, feeling the hush of it. Then elsewhere, another kind of death begins. A massive star, one that lived fast and large, is reaching its end. Its iron core, too heavy to sustain fusion, collapses inward. The outer layers follow. A sudden rush, a breaking of the balance. For a moment the star caves in. Then, in a heartbeat, it explodes outward. A supernova. You do not hear the sound. There is no air to carry it. But you feel the motion, the release. The force of it pushes you back. It's not violence, it's surrender with power. The core shrinks rapidly, while the outer layers detonate, hurling elements into space at astonishing speed. The flash is brighter than anything you've seen. For a few weeks, the star outshines an entire galaxy. Light from the explosion travels across the cosmos. Some of it will one day strike a telescope, or a planet, or pass through someone's body without them ever knowing. But it carries the story of that star's end. You drift through the debris. The cloud is thick with new elements: oxygen, silicon, calcium, gold, iron that will one day live in blood, carbon that may shape bone. The remnants swirl and cool, gathering into clouds again. In time, they may form new stars, new planets. Even now, stardust moves toward becoming soil or sky. A star's death is not disappearance, it is distribution. And at the center, something strange remains. If the star was massive enough, its core becomes a neutron star, an object so dense that a teaspoon would weigh a mountain. You approach one now, cautious. It spins rapidly, beaming radiation in narrow jets from its poles, a pulsar, a cosmic lighthouse blinking rhythmically through space. You feel its pulse, not just with your body, but with your attention. Each beat is precise, measured like the ticking of a cosmic clock. It is beautiful, alien, steady, but sometimes the death is even more complete. Death is even more complete. Death is even more. For the most massive stars, not even neutrons can hold back gravity's pull. The core collapses into a black hole, a point of no return. Light itself cannot escape. You cannot see it, only the shadow it casts. Around it, space bends, time slows, matter spirals inward, lost beyond the event horizon. You keep your distance, not out of fear, but respect. The black hole is not destruction. It is transformation. A star turned inward so completely that it becomes mystery. A silence so total it distorts everything near it. Yet, even here, there is motion. There is story. The gravity of black holes shapes galaxies, pulls stars into orbits, merges with other black holes in cosmic dances that send ripples through space-time itself. Death does not mean stillness. Not here. You leave the black hole behind and return to the colors. Supernova remnants swirl through the void. Bright patches of gas shine in pink and blue, glowing from the energy of death. The Veil Nebula, the Crab Nebula. These names are new, but the stars are old, long gone, but still speaking. You understand, now, that light is not the only language of stars. Death is a language too. So is giving. Stars create elements in life, but they share them in death. Without dying stars, there would be no planets, no metal, no water, no carbon, no nitrogen, no oxygen. Every breath you've ever taken once passed through a star. Every atom in your body was forged in fire and released in a final burst of letting go. You are made of endings, but endings are beginnings too. The gas and dust released will gather again, pulled by gravity into new clouds, new cradles, new cores that will one day burn. The cycle continues, vast and slow. You are floating in the middle of it, not as a watcher, but as part of it. Death comes in color, in light, in echo, and in you. You float through a sea of dust. And yet, this is no wasteland. It sparkles. Tiny grains, some older than the earth, tumble weightlessly in the dark. You move through them, like a swimmer through sunlit plankton. Each mote a whisper of what came before. They drift without rush, carrying a silence not of emptiness, but of time. This is star stuff, literal, remembered, elemental. You reach out. A single speck brushes through your hand. Inside it, carbon, born in the heart of a red giant. It traveled through the convulsions of a dying star, cooled in space, and now floats here, waiting. Another grain contains oxygen, another, iron, each one the ash of ancient fusion, flung into space by a death that gave more than it took. You realize you are surrounded by stories, but not ones written in words. These are physical memories, matter shaped by memory. Each atom knows what it has survived. Each one has waited through time and silence to become part of something else. They do not cling to their past, but they carry it, and some of them carry it into you. You drift deeper into the cloud, feeling it gently thicken. These clouds are not always vast. Some are small, curling like fingers through the spiral arms of galaxies. They gather near newborn stars, pulled by gravity into orbit. They feed disks where planets will soon form. Here, dust begins to combine. Not explosively, not quickly, but with certainty. Static and chemistry bring pieces together. Flakes join flakes. Pebbles meet. Clumps grow. You watch one swirl through gas and collect more of itself. It doesn't know it's becoming, but it is. Sooner than you expect, it is a rock, then a world, then maybe a planet. You drift beside it, but it is not alone. Planets don't form in isolation. They form as families, orbiting stars, sharing origins. Some will be gas giants, some icy, some rocky, and on one, If conditions are kind, dust will turn to stone. Stone will hold water, and something will begin to breathe. You feel this in your bones. Because your bones remember too. The calcium that gives them strength was forged in stars. Long before you stood or spoke or wondered, your ingredients were waiting scattered in clouds like this one, silent and bright. The iron in your blood, carried by your heart with each beat, was once at the core of a star, spun and ignited in silence. Even the gold on your finger is a relic of cosmic violence. Not from ordinary fusion, but from collisions, neutron stars merging, tearing each other apart in cataclysms, so fierce they make space itself ripple. In those moments the universe made the heaviest elements, and then let them fall. That gold traveled far. It cooled, it floated, it landed, it was mined, it was shaped, and now it shines. You turn your hand and let dust pass through your fingers. You understand, now, that matter is not fixed. It moves. It forgets its shape, but not its story. What was once part of a star may one day be part of skin, or soil, or song. Everything you are has been something else, and will be again. You pass an infant planet, still warm, still restless. Its crust cracks, its atmosphere rises in bursts. But already, dust has settled on its surface, some of it carbon, some of it phosphorus. The makings of molecules are there, not alive but listening. It will take time, but time is the one thing dust always has. You watch another world form rings, another begins to tilt, another holds on to ice. You understand now that each planet, each moon, each meteorite is not just rock, but memory held in shape. Each one carries a record of collisions, of heat, of dust that came before. And somewhere in one of those dust clouds, perhaps this one, perhaps one farther still, a world turns blue. Water gathers, clouds swirl, something stirs in tide pools. Dust, awakened, dust, remembering. You have not left that story, you are still inside it. You are not a visitor in the cosmos, you are its child. Every breath you take recycles air that has passed through leaves, through lungs before those. Every cell in your body is built from elements made in stars. Every step you've ever taken was across soil that once drifted as ash through space. You are the universe, folding inward to look at itself. You float now, not as a separate being, but as part of the dust, part of the rhythm. You understand that memory does not always live in minds. It lives in matter, in shape, in orbit, in the elements that build everything. You pass through a wisp of carbon again. And this time you feel not awe, but recognition. This is where the story began, and where it continues, because dust never stays still. It becomes planets, it becomes people, it becomes light. And even when those things end, they return. You drift once more into darkness. But this darkness feels different now. It no longer feels empty. It feels full, full of waiting, full of memory, full of beginnings that haven't yet begun. All around you, the dust swirls, quiet, soft, and ancient. It moves with the rhythm of a breath held for billions of years. This is not the dust that has already become something. This is the dust that is still choosing. It has not yet folded into stars. It has not yet burned. It has only gathered, slow, patient, and certain. You are back where it all begins. This cloud is wide, light years across. It moves so slowly, you almost believe it is still, but you know better now. You know stillness can carry motion. You know that dust, even when scattered, is always listening for gravity's whisper. You hover inside the molecular cloud, where temperature drops and shadows thicken. The dust here is colder than space itself, just a few degrees above absolute zero. Yet in that cold, things happen. Atoms meet, molecules form. Tiny seeds of structure begin to bloom. You imagine this cloud, like a library of ingredients, each particle a word, each molecule a phrase, each clump a sentence waiting to be written into the body of a star. Nothing explodes here. Nothing shines. But the future gathers its breath. You float past clumps that pulse almost imperceptibly. These are the dense cores, pockets, where gravity has begun to pull more firmly, where gas and dust fold in tighter, the beginnings of collapse, the first outlines of shape. Some of these cores will not make it. They will disperse, drift, unravel, but some will hold on. Some will gather enough, and when they do, when mass meets pressure meets time, a star will ignite. You know this story now, but knowing it doesn't make it less miraculous. You approach one such core, still silent, still hidden within layers of darkness. It turns slowly, bound by rotation. Around it, a disk of dust begins to form. Just dust, just motion. But one day, it may hold planets, it may hold oceans, it may hold eyes that turn upward and wonder how they came to be. You move deeper into the cloud, letting the dark thicken. You begin to feel time stretch again. Not in minutes or hours, but in distance, the way a photon waits to be born, the way pressure builds over 1,000 lifetimes. This place is not in a hurry, and yet it knows exactly where it's going. You find comfort in that. Everywhere you look, there is material with memory. Gold from neutron stars, carbon from red giants, oxygen from supernovae. This dust has already lived 100 lives. Now it gathers to begin one more, and it will not remember what it was. Not in words, but it will carry the shape of its past into what it becomes. A molecule once part of a supernova will settle into a new star's furnace. A grain of iron once adrift in the arm of a dying galaxy will help form the blood of a future creature. Nothing is lost. Not truly. You hover now on the edge of one of the quietest places in the cosmos, and yet it hums with potential. You can almost hear it. The low vibration of something about to begin. The weightless hush before a spark. The moment just before gravity tips the balance. And then, nothing happens. Not yet. You smile at the patience of it all. You understand, now, that creation is not always a flash. Sometimes it is a long sleep, a slow fold, a gathering of threads so fine you cannot see the pattern, until one day, suddenly, you can. The universe is still weaving, and you, floating here, are a witness. Not just to endings, not just to light, but to this, the silent places where future suns lie curled inside cold gas, waiting for the warmth of ignition. You imagine that first flicker. It hasn't happened yet, but it will. Somewhere in this cloud, perhaps right here, a core will press inward just enough. Heat will build. Hydrogen will stir, and the tiniest burst of light will push outward, the very first breath of a star that does not know its name. And you will not see it, not with eyes, but you will feel it, like a bell rung in the center of silence. A star will begin, and that star will shine. And it will give, it will warm, it will spin its own story. Perhaps it will host worlds, perhaps it will die in brilliance, or fold quietly into memory. But all of that is ahead. For now, it dreams. You pull back, leaving the cloud behind. Not because it is finished, but because it is not. Because the waiting is part of the becoming. You drift through the quiet spaces between stars, feeling the calm of things not yet written. The cosmos is not done, not even close. New stars will always form. New light will always rise. And someone, somewhere will always look up to find it. Last lines. You move gently onward, through a sky still filling itself with future fire. And in the hush behind you, something ancient exhales, as a new star begins to breathe.